Have you ever wondered what would happen if the Earth had a permanent eclipse? That's right, a never-ending shadow cast over our planet. An intriguing thought, isn't it? Well, let's unravel this conundrum together. First, let's clarify what an eclipse is. In its simplest form, an eclipse is an astronomical event that occurs when one celestial body, like a planet or a moon, moves into the shadow of another celestial body. When we speak of an eclipse here on Earth, we're usually referring to a solar eclipse. That's when our moon dances between the sun and the Earth, casting a temporary shadow on our planet. This shadow play happens rarely and lasts just a few minutes, but it leaves us in awe. The day turns into night, the temperature drops, and a moment of eerie silence prevails as the birds stop chirping, fooled by the sudden darkness. But what if this was not a fleeting moment? What if our world was engulfed in a perpetual eclipse? Imagine the Earth enveloped in endless twilight, the sun hidden behind the moon, casting a permanent shadow. The idea might seem fascinating, even romantic to some, but it would drastically change life as we know it. A permanent eclipse would not just affect our daily routines, but it would also have profound implications on the Earth's climate, wildlife, and civilization as a whole. We're talking about a world where sunlight becomes a rare commodity, where the rhythm of life gets disrupted, and the balance of ecosystems is thrown off kilter. The thought raises many questions. How would our climate react to a sudden plunge into darkness? How would wildlife adapt to this new world order? How would civilizations evolve in perpetual twilight? And amidst these challenges, could there be any silver linings? The concept of a permanent eclipse is a fascinating thought experiment that pushes the boundaries of our understanding of life on Earth. It challenges us to think about our planet in an entirely new light, or rather, an entirely new darkness. Now let's dive deeper into the possible effects of a permanent eclipse on our planet. Imagine a world where the sun doesn't rise, and we live in a constant shadow. A world that is always at the mercy of a permanent eclipse. The thought is as fascinating as it is terrifying. Let's delve into what such a scenario would mean for Earth's climate. To begin with, the most immediate and noticeable impact would be a significant drop in temperature. The sun is our primary source of heat, and without its warming rays reaching the Earth's surface, the global temperature would plummet rapidly. This wouldn't just mean a slight chill in the air, we're talking about an instantaneous and severe drop that would make even the hardiest winter feel like a mild spring day. In the shadow of a permanent eclipse, our planet would swiftly transition into a deep freeze. This could potentially trigger a new ice age, as the world becomes cloaked in a thick layer of ice and snow. Our blue planet, as we know it, would turn white, with vast icy landscapes stretching as far as the eye can see. But the temperature drop is only the tip of the iceberg. Changes in wind patterns would also occur. Currently, our winds are driven by the uneven heating of the Earth's surface by the sun. This causes air to rise in warmer areas and sink in cooler ones, creating a cycle of wind. But in a world without sunlight, this process would be disrupted. We could expect winds to become less predictable, potentially even chaotic. Furthermore, the lack of sunlight would also affect our oceans. The sun plays a crucial role in driving ocean currents through a process called thermohaline circulation. But without the sun's heat, this process would slow down, if not stop altogether. This could lead to a stagnation of the oceans, with severe repercussions for marine life and climate. Let's not forget about the atmospheric changes too. The sun's ultraviolet rays play a significant role in the formation of the ozone layer. Without these rays, the ozone layer could deteriorate, leading to changes in the composition and dynamics of our atmosphere. In a nutshell, a permanent eclipse would plunge our world into a state of climatic turmoil. It would be a colder, windier, and much more unpredictable world. A world where the rhythm of life as we know it, the cycle of day and night, the changing of the seasons, would be thrown into disarray. Such drastic climate changes would inevitably affect the world's wildlife. But how exactly? Stick around to find out. What would happen to the animals if the sun never rose again? A question that sends a shiver down the spine as we delve into the implications of a permanent eclipse on wildlife. Let's start with the creatures that rely on sunlight for various activities. Many animal species, like birds and butterflies, use the sun for navigation. With the sun shrouded in darkness, these creatures would have to adapt or perish. Their migratory patterns would be thrown into chaos, and their survival would hinge on finding new ways to navigate their world. What about our cold-blooded friends? Reptiles, for instance, bask in the sun to regulate their body temperature. Without the sun's warming rays, their metabolism would slow, leading to a drastic change in behavior and lifestyle. They might be forced to become more nocturnal, seeking the relative warmth of the night, or they might not survive at all. Plants, the primary producers in our ecosystem, would also be severely impacted. Photosynthesis, the process by which plants convert sunlight into energy, would cease. This would create a ripple effect up the food chain. Herbivores would struggle to find food, and in turn carnivores would face a scarcity of prey. Entire ecosystems could collapse. Yet in the face of such adversity, life has a knack for finding a way. Deep in our oceans, where sunlight never reaches, life thrives around hydrothermal vents. These vents spew out nutrient-rich substances that support a wide array of marine life, from tube worms to crabs and octopuses. Could similar life forms evolve in a sunless world? And what about the creatures of the night? Many nocturnal animals, such as bats and owls, already thrive in the darkness. They use echolocation or exceptional night vision to hunt and navigate. Could they become the dominant species in a world bathed in eternal night? However, it's not just about survival, but also about the continuation of species. Many animals rely on daylight cues for reproduction. From the deer rutting in the fall to the birds singing their springtime songs, these rituals could be disrupted, potentially leading to population declines. But who's to say that evolution wouldn't step in? Over time, animals might develop new adaptations to cope with the darkness. We could see the rise of new species better equipped for a world without sunlight. The effects of a permanent eclipse on wildlife would be profound, changing the very fabric of life as we know it. From the smallest insect to the largest mammal, every creature would have to adapt or face potential extinction. Now that we've seen how wildlife might adapt, what about us? How would human civilization fare in this eternal darkness? How would our lives change if we lived in a world of eternal twilight? Imagine a world where the sun never fully rises, where we are forever bathed in the soft, dim light of dusk or dawn. How would this affect our daily lives, our behavior, our very survival? In this ever-dim world, our lifestyle would inevitably have to adapt. The 9-to-5 workday as we know it could vanish, replaced with a flexible schedule driven by artificial light. Sleep cycles may also shift dramatically. With the lack of clear day and night, our body's circadian rhythms, the internal biological clock that regulates sleep-wake cycles, could be thrown into chaos. We might find ourselves adopting a polyphasic sleep pattern, sleeping in short bursts throughout the 24 hours, much like some animals do. Now consider our food supply. Agriculture, as we know it, depends heavily on sunlight. Photosynthesis, the process by which plants convert sunlight into energy, would be severely impacted in a world of eternal twilight. We might have to rethink our farming practices, perhaps turning to underground or indoor farming using artificial lights. Hydroponics and aeroponics, soil-less methods of cultivation, could become the norm rather than the exception. What about power generation? Currently, many regions around the world are increasingly harnessing solar energy. In a world of perpetual twilight, our dependence on solar power could be challenged. We would need to lean more heavily on other sources of energy. Wind, geothermal, and nuclear energy would likely play a larger role in our power generation. But humans are, if anything, adaptable and innovative. Faced with a world in permanent eclipse, we might see an acceleration in technological advancements. Think about it. In the face of darkness, wouldn't we strive to create more efficient lighting and energy solutions? Perhaps we'd see a surge in research and development in fields like bioluminescence, the production and emission of light by living organisms. Imagine cities glowing with bioluminescent trees replacing street lamps, or glowing algae lighting up our homes. In the realm of communication, we could witness a revival and enhancement of technologies that don't rely on visual cues. Perhaps we'd see a resurgence in the use of radio waves, or an evolution in our use of sound and vibrations to navigate our surroundings. A world of perpetual twilight would challenge us in ways we can't fully predict. It would push the boundaries of our adaptability and ingenuity, testing our resilience and resourcefulness. So, we've painted a picture of what a world in permanent eclipse might look like. But is there a silver lining to this cloud? As we venture further into this thought experiment, let's explore the potential positives of living in an eternally dim world. Could there be any positives to a world shrouded in darkness? It seems like a daunting question, doesn't it? Yet, as we've discovered time and again, adversity often fuels innovation. In a world without sunlight, we could expect a surge of advancements in technology, particularly in the field of energy production. Imagine, if you will, a civilization that has mastered the art of generating power from alternative sources. Think of wind, water, and geothermal energy, resources that are not dependent on sunlight. We'd have to become experts in harnessing these elements, creating a society that is resilient and adaptable. What's more, the absence of sunlight might actually result in an increase in certain resources. For instance, consider the humble mushroom. Thriving in the dark, mushrooms could become a primary food source, leading to new culinary experiences and even advancements in the field of mycology. This permanent twilight could also lead to a shift towards a more sustainable lifestyle. With sunlight no longer a given, we'd learn to conserve energy, to maximize what we have and minimize waste. We'd have to rethink our relationship with the world around us, becoming more conscious of our actions and their impacts. Interestingly, our world in permanent eclipse could also become a haven for astronomers. With the sun's light no longer drowning out the stars, we'd have an unparalleled view of the cosmos. This could open up new pathways in space exploration and deepen our understanding of the universe. But perhaps the most profound change would be in us, as individuals and as a society. We'd learn to navigate this new world, to find light in the darkness both literally and metaphorically. Our creativity, resilience, and adaptability would be tested. And from that, who knows what marvels could arise? A world in permanent eclipse presents both challenges and opportunities. It's a fascinating thought experiment, and we've only scratched the surface. So, we've journeyed through a world in eternal twilight, but what have we learned? We started our journey with the Eclipse Conundrum, unraveling the mysteries of a world where the sun is forever hidden. We discovered that this perpetual eclipse would significantly alter our climate, causing temperatures to plummet and ice to form in even the most unexpected of places. Then, we ventured into the shadowy realms of wildlife, observing how animals would adapt to an endless night. We learned that many species would struggle while others might thrive. Creatures of the night would become the rulers of this new world, with nocturnal predators and insects taking center stage. Next, we dove into the heart of human civilization, pondering how societies would adjust to this eternal twilight. We imagined cities glowing with artificial light, with humans becoming even more dependent on technology for survival. Yet, we also envisioned the potential for a more unified world, as humanity bands together to face this unprecedented challenge. But it wasn't all doom and gloom. We found a silver lining in this cloud of perpetual darkness. We imagined the potential for scientific advancements, as humanity is forced to innovate and adapt. We pictured a world where renewable energy sources become paramount, where new forms of agriculture are developed, and where our understanding of life itself is fundamentally challenged. In the end, our journey through this world in eternal twilight was about more than just what if. It was about exploring the resilience of life in the face of adversity, the capacity of humanity to adapt and innovate, and the endless possibilities that exist even in the darkest of shadows. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the shadows. Remember, the world is full of what ifs, and exploring them helps us better understand our own reality.